What's up, guys, and welcome back once again to Planet Coaster. My name is Chay, and here we are once again, I've said that twice already, building the Disney Castle. Now, last time we got thus far, we got as far as building the first three towers, spires, whatever the hell you want to call them. We got as far as building the first three. Now, this episode, we're going to attempt to build the rest of them. However, I have no idea what the back of this thing looks like, so I'm going to have to get as far as the back and then stop and see kind of what happens and try and find some kind of picture somewhere of whatever the back part looks like, because, you know, if I'm building the whole damn thing, we want it to look as near to as possible. Now, this little bit of the wall actually has, now between this tower here, the one on the left at the moment, and then the next one I'm going to be building after this bit, there's actually a mini tower that doesn't kind of start from the floor, it starts a little bit higher up. So I am now going to have to add this kind of extra bit of wall, which is what I'm doing at the moment. I'm adding this additional kind of piece of curvature to the wall, which is where this particular little tower is going to go. Now you'll see what it looks like. It is kind of like one of these attached to the wall towers. It's not quite an actual tower. It's one of them kind of like I'm sort of a tower, but at the same time I'm not really at the same time a tower. Yeah, I am, but I'm not. So it's a smaller, kind of like one of them things, like something which is stuck to the side, however just a bit bigger. Now I have to make this from scratch, so that's kind of what we're doing. We're attempting to make this smaller tower which kind of lives and situates itself here. Now it has a base to it, like I've just added there. However, when I placed that, I wasn't overly happy with how it looked like. So I was like, I'll leave that there for the time being. Let's actually build the tower and we'll get on with it. You may have also noticed the roof color has changed. I loaded the game up after looking for ages at different pictures of the Disney Castle, and I was like, no, I definitely need to change the colour of this roof. It definitely needs to be a bluer colour. Before it was kind of like a greeny jade colour, but I wanted it to be a bit more of a blue kind of look. So I changed that. It may change again. It may go to a lighter colour blue. I don't know yet. But for the time being, I was quite happy with this blue because it had this difference to it. It looked different and looked quite nice, actually. So what I'm going to be doing is trying to fill out a lot of the parts which I missed about doing last time. Now, we are changing and adding this roofing onto this part of the wall as well, which I didn't get a chance to do in the last episode. Now there is 4 steps to it, and I'm just trying to get it to the point of where it sticks out to the right kind of amount. This side has, you know, a couple little bits sticking out, and this side I've managed to I think I've got it to this point. One of the questions that I've been thinking to myself is what I'm going to do on the other side of this. Is this primarily going to be something which you look at, a bit of scenery, that kind of thing, or is it going to be something which I actually want people to go in and have a look around? And in that sense, am I only going to make it to the point of whatever the person sees as opposed to what we see? Now obviously we see everything, and there's no control in that. I get to see absolutely everything that's done. I can see the whole damn thing, I can see the whole park, I can see every angle, whatever. The people can't. And the real question is, do I leave it, do I take advantage of that and only build certain parts of this? Or do I, see, I quite like how that looks. That looks a lot better for me. From that little round kind of thing, it looks a lot better. Now, do I take advantage of the fact that people can't see everything? Or do I do it properly and build everything to the point of what we can see? Now, as you can see at the moment, that side of the roof, there isn't really anything there. So ideally, what I'd want to do is just flip that over so there's like a pointed bit of roof there, really. And have it as that kind of sense. Now, all in all, that is basically done. At the moment, I'm staring quite manically at a picture of the Disney Castle, which I've got on my second monitor again. I'm staring at it and trying to figure out how far between all of this goes. And at the moment, I'm going for a 3 again. So I'm really liking the front. The front's looking pretty good. The rest of the castle is really weird. It's kind of got no particular design to it. It's a very strangely shaped castle. It's not very symmetrical. It's got, well, it is, but it isn't. It's got bits that stick out here and there. It's a very unusual castle, and I'm going for a 3x3 tower going on here. Now, the next tower that is actually on this is a square one. This is the first square tower that features on this particular castle. I believe there's 2. There might be 2 or 3. I can't remember, but this is the first square one nonetheless. And the height of this is very similar to that of the ones with the actual tall roofs on, but not quite as high. It's slightly smaller in that sort of sense. We have a square one, there's a round one in this kind of style, And I believe there's a second round or a second square one. I can't remember which way around it actually goes. I haven't got the picture up at me at the moment. I recorded this, turned off the picture because I was sick of looking at it. I went from there. Now this particular tower has another one of these kind of a two-tier kind of look to it, but it's square as opposed to being rounded. So I'm still trying to think about what I'm going to do on the inside of this castle. Now, the gatehouse is something which I definitely will do, which is that opening part. I will definitely, at the bit at the front, I will definitely have a secondary and inside part to that, because I feel you can't just walk this hollow kind of wall. Ideally, I would like people to be able to walk through it and have something maybe in here. I don't know what I'm going to have yet, but have something kind of in here. Now, the plan here was to do kind of what I did on the outside, but it didn't work, so I had to kind of try and figure out a different way of doing this. Essentially, it has this two-tier square bit to it. It has this outer square bit, and then it has a slightly inner square bit, which you'll get when I actually finish this. You'll get what I'm on about, but it has this kind of outer and inner part. Now, I'm thinking of just using walls to have to complete this kind of look, and just kind of top up with these things again. But I'm thinking of going for the smaller version in this sense, just because it looks a little bit better and it's not as in your face, and it gives the impression of a better two-tier thing. And we're going to have obviously a bit of roofing sort of thing. So that's essentially what I'm on about in the whole two-tier kind of thing. It has this kind of lower part and then an upper bit. I don't know what I'm not a castle aficionado. I don't know what these things are called. They're just bits. To me, that's castle bit number 1 and castle bit number 2. Now, we're going to have to build another tower here. Now, thankfully speaking, the only symmetry that this particular castle has are its 2 main towers at the front. And I get to reuse these many times, which is very, very useful. Once I built the one, I could just keep reusing them. And there are a number of these on the actual castle. There's about, I think there's 5. Now, currently we've got 4, but I'm pretty sure there's 5, not including the central madness that I still have to build. Which, by the way, I have absolutely no idea how I'm going to do. I'm going to have to wing quite a lot of that, because there's going to be no pictures, no good detailed pictures of what that looks like. That's going to be the hard. The easy bit is the outside, is this bit, because there's loads of pictures of this. The hard bit is that flipping craziness that is the central part, the actual castle building itself. At the moment, this is just the castle defences. These are just walls. There's nothing going to these except from a bit of wallage going on. But that's what's going to make it very difficult, is coming up with how that central bit is going to be built. And that's most likely going to be began. We're going to start it in the next episode. It depends on what the back of the castle looks like. So the next tower we're doing is another circular tower. However, it's more in the style of the square one, which I built over the other side. Now, thankfully, once again, I can duplicate one of the other towers and just delete stuff, because basically it looks exactly the same until you get to basically where I am now. This top bar here, it looks exactly the same until you get to this part, and it has another one of these 2-tier effect kind of things going on. It has this sort of second, I'm this and this, but not quite this and this. It has another one of these 2-tier things, which is what I'm trying to work on at the moment. A little bit more difficult. This one I had to kind of come up with my own kind of version. It's not exactly the same as the Disney one. It's very similar, but it's not exactly the same, which kind of annoyed me a little bit. Now, I realise here that it's not the same height, or of a similar height, of the one which is across the way, the square one. In fact, it's a whole chunk, whatever you want to call it. It's a whole bit smaller. So I'm going to have to try and make this slightly bigger, which I've realised here. And I'm going to use something similar to what is happening in the lower part of this castle, but not exactly the same, just a very similar kind of idea. Now, I'm thinking of having another one of these central bits here, but the actual tower itself has kind of something in this kind of idea. But the problem is, these things don't exist on Planet Coaster at the moment. So I think I've got the height kind of down. I want to definitely have something a little bit higher. I want this sort of bit to stick up a little bit more, so it's a little bit more towery. In that kind of sense, really, that's pretty much exactly how I want it to go. But I need to obviously have a roof beneath it and a second piece of, I don't know what you want to call it, building, to make so it's not just floating. It's not just sort of this magical floating bit of madness that a lot of the Disney castle is, just madness anyway. And we decided to go for that, and it turns out quite good. I actually quite like how that looks. I was a little bit more that was a little bit harder to do than the rest of it, but I liked the style of which it ended up as. Once again, I am graciously studying how the Disney castle looks. So towards the back part, it kind of curls itself back inwards. But like I said, I'm not sure if there's another gatehouse at the back or if there is just like a back bit of the castle. I'm kind of swaying more to a back bit of the castle. I don't think I really want to have a walk all the way through. But I'm not sure yet. I may leave it open until I've actually finished, just so I can decide on what I want to do. Whether or not I want to have a walkway that goes all the way through it and through the big madness that's going to be at the top. Or if I simply want this to be a bit of scenery. Now, I'm thinking more along the lines of walkway. But the only problem is, now that I've built this, I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it look bigger than it is. I mean, the actual Disney castle itself is slightly raised up on a sort of a platform. So I'm going to have to dig around it to add water to go around it. But I'm not really sure what I'm going to do with that whole platform kind of style thing. I may have to edit a lot of these towers to try... Oh, there we go, another circular tower. Look, I may have to edit some of these towers to make them look bigger than they are. If that makes kind of... If that kind of makes sense. Bit of an illusion. When you have the ground around it a lot lower, you can make the castle look a bit bigger by having kind of these... by adding some bases to each of these towers. Now, what I'm doing here, I'm moving things around. Now, I realised that the castle wasn't quite sort of fitting into the right sort of area, so I took away some of the walls which are on this side, because I did notice that some of them didn't have as big a spaces between as I thought they did. And as I said, the castle isn't particularly the most symmetrical looking thing in the world, so the fact that it's got these bizarrely shaped towers kind of dotted around doesn't bother me too much. That doesn't bother me too much. I mean, the castle is supposed to be quite unique, so the fact that I've got certain things that don't really match up, they're kind of bizarrely sized, doesn't really bother me that much. I'm not all that fussed about that, and it doesn't look too bad. Now, this part of the castle, the back part, loses its roofing. It loses its funky roofing and goes into this kind of the whole typical parapet, whatever you want to call these, defences, things that a normal castle would have. Which, one, makes my life a lot easier, and two, makes my life a lot easier as well. It makes things like I don't have to go and do these crazy roofing kind of things like on this one. The best way I can describe it is the first two parts of the wall have a roof and the rest doesn't. That's what I seem to have noticed in a lot of pictures. That seems to go that way. But then again, the castle does seem to change depending on where you are. I mean, certain areas, I mean, depending on what Disneyland you're in, often not the castle's slightly different in some Disneylands. They're not always exactly the same. Some are slightly bigger, some are smaller. So therefore, you have to take into consideration the different sizes of the pictures that you're using, which makes life more awkward, thankfully. Which is always what I'm after. It makes life a lot more awkward for myself, and yeah, that's just a bit of a pain in the ass. So we're going to have to chuck our last little bit of roofing here for the wall anyway, because the rest of it, thankfully, is the funky square things, the blocks, the parapet. I don't know what they're called. I need to find out what they're called. I swear to God they're called parapets or something like that. Then again, that could just be a name for a different type of tower. I'm not sure. If you know, let me know in the comments below of what those things are actually called. You know what I'm about? The weird, the typical castle-y thing, those little square blocks that kind of go up and down, whatever. What are they called? Because I can't freaking remember. But I am enjoying how this is looking so far. I am mildly impressed with how this is looking so far. So, I've managed to do the towers. Now, I want to add a little bit of some of these windows while I'm thinking about it, because I'm only going to forget and then end up building something which looks kind of ridiculous. But I'm still wondering what I'm going to do when I lower the ground. I may have to add some additional kind of walls and stuff beneath all this to have this more of a castle base, because at the moment it's situated perfectly on a bit of flat land. I didn't really think that one through. I should have, realistically, I should have not have done it that way. I should have gone about it, building it from the very, very base. And the problem is as well, it's all different parts, so I can't just pick the whole thing up and lower it or raise it, which is kind of annoying. Not gonna lie, kind of annoying. It'd be nice if you could, once you've unlinked things, if you could link them back together again. I don't know if you can. I mean, you've got different building parts. I mean, all these, this thing is built up of about 7 or 8, maybe 9, 10, 11 different buildings at the moment, which are all kind of merged together into one larger building. Now, I'm moving over to the gatehouse at the moment. Now, as I was saying, it'd be nice if you could link them all together. So moving over to the gatehouse at the moment, which is adding... I've added 2 bits of walls to try and bring up sort of this gatehouse. Roof-wise is going to be a bitch because of the shape of this thing. They don't actually have any roofs that go all the way down, which is kind of annoying. It'd be nice if you could place your own just kind of tiling. You cannot seem to... I can't seem to do it anyway. You can't seem to change the angle of some of the pieces on here. For example, the square bit of roof would be really nice if you could change the way in which that's shaped. You might be able to, and I might just be missing it. But it'd be really nice if you could change the way in that's shaped, because at the moment it's either flat or nothing. You can't even have it so it's standing up on end. It'd be nice if you could use it to make your own walls or your own kind of roof style. You know, like, oh my god, I'm yawning, what's going on? Or its own kind of angle. That's what I'm after, its own angle. This thing here, you cannot, that piece, you cannot seem to change it. You can only go round on its axis. You can't flip it any other direction, which is kind of annoying. But no problems. We'll come up with something else. So instead, I'm going to use this roof again, but build whatever I can do down here, and try and get it and just move it up there basically, and then kind of go from there and try and figure out what I'm doing from that kind of sense. Now we have this roof. We add it okay, but there is some definite. I still need to tackle this. The front of this still needs some work on it. Now, I have an idea about what I want to have on here. It's just whether or not it's going to work. Now, I'm going to have to come back to it, basically. Because of the A-frame and the way this is shaped, it's a little bit awkward. I don't mind, however, how the wood sticks out the sides. I actually don't mind that, because it adds a bit more of an accent to it, and it adds something to fill in some of those spaces. That doesn't really bother me at all, in all fairness. But I still need to come up with a better idea of what I'm going to do with that roofing at the top, because... It looks fine, but it just needs a bit more. There's some other stuff, there's some other details that need to go up there as well, which I'm still thinking of. I kind of roughly know what pieces I want to use, but I didn't get a chance to tackle that when I was recording this video, because, I recorded for about an hour and 20 minutes. And, yeah, I got so far, and then it kind of... something happened, which was kind of bad. My game crashed, okay? It's coming up shortly, but my game crashed. But I will address that when it comes up. But... as this is a gatehouse, and I'm already taking consideration of whether or not I want people to be able to walk through these. The gatehouse, I feel like I do want them to. But as I was saying, I do need to change... I need to add a moat that goes around this thing and fill it with water, so I can probably get a better idea. Because I still need to make the initial entrance, like the drawbridge. I don't know if I'm going to use the actual drawbridge, which is on here, or if I'm just going to make like a different version or whatever. I haven't yet really decided that, but... I'm just a little bit torn. I don't know whether to tackle the moat now and get that out of the way, as opposed to doing it at a later date. So the next episode, I'm not really sure whether or not I'm going to use that as a moat building episode, or if I'm going to start the inner madness that is due to come and be done. Not quite sure which way I'm going to go yet. I'm really not quite sure. However, the gatehouse has produced this random space, which I would like to fill in. Now, I'm trying to do that. I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to use it to fill in. Now, you're not going to see this too much, so it doesn't really bother me if there's spaces or silliness that appears. That doesn't bother me. It's just whether or not I can fit something in here that looks good and kind of works. However, I got a phone call as I was doing this, and then my game crashed. It just crashed. The game just decided to stop working, and it crashed me to desktop, and I panicked while I was on the phone. Here we go, look. I came back. I was like, oh my god! I think I may have just lost like 4 or 5 hours worth of work. Sorry, an hour and a half worth of work just now while I was on the phone. And I was like, crap. Managed to reload it, and thank God for autosave, because it saved me here and I did not lose my work. However, it made me so I can come back and have a better look at what I was doing. So we're going to continue trying to build this piece here, trying to figure out what I'm doing. Now, I have an idea now. What I want to do is I want to flatten this out. I just want to flatten it, basically. Have a flat roof with some of those parapet-y things on it, which is basically what I'm trying to do here. Now, I'm trying to edit it from, and I had a little bit of a brain fart there, but I was trying to edit it, and we got it okay. Now, I'm not so fussed about parts sticking into others, because you're not going to see them, but the only downside was I couldn't fill the whole thing in, because of the shape of this and how it works, but I can still use pieces to try and hide as much as I physically can, which is more or less what I'm going to be doing. I can hide it as much as I can. So we decided to use one of these things again, but I can edit it slightly to kind of fill in that front part. As long as the bits which you can kind of see from, if you were to look up and look at the actual building, in my eyes, that's how I'm kind of taking it. The bits you can actually see and look up at are the bits which I want to try and focus on and try and make look as good as I physically can. So, you know, you're not going to see this roofing up here. There is a very dangerous hole in the roof, but, you know, who cares? You're not going to see it. People can't see it. People won't go up there. It does not matter. It really doesn't. So, this episode is coming to an end now, so I am going to once again duplicate this part and just chuck it in here. Just do the same kind of thing of what I was doing. But I do thank you very, very much for watching, guys. So do let me know about what that thing is called in the comments. Do you like what the castle's looking like so far? Let me know, guys. I'd like to know some feedback of what you guys are thinking. Are you enjoying this so far? It's taken me a long time to do these, but it's actually really good fun because it's nice to be able to just sit down and play a game for an hour and 20 minutes without having to commentate over it, so I can concentrate and then do it again afterwards. So thank you very, very much for watching, and I will see you when I see you. When I see you the next episode will be out shortly, guys. Not quite sure what the next video is going to be, whether it's going to be another one of these or something else entirely, but nonetheless, I'm sure you will enjoy it either way. So thank you very much for watching, and I will see you when I see you. When I see you. Toodle-fick-a-doo, friends.